I've recently discovered how wonderful crochet projects turn out with macrame cord, and well, I keep finding more uses for it. These placemats are quick to crochet, they're sturdy, they're thick, and yes, they lay perfectly flat. With these placemats, you can get the same homey, handmade vibe as placemats you'd pay twice as much for. The step-by-step tutorial is coming up. So macrame cord is what makes these function perfectly, so you'll want to pick up a few of these rolls. This is 3mm cotton cord, and this roll has 109 yards. You'll use most of the roll for one placemat. Alright, to get started, make a slip knot in 3 chains. And find the 3rd chain from the hook and work 7 half double crochet in that chain. Now the other 2 chains count as a half double crochet as well, so you'll have a total of 8 stitches at the end of this round. Rather than joining at the end of the round, we'll work in a spiral to keep it looking as neat as possible, so you will need a stitch marker to mark the first stitch of each round. Since the chain 2 counts as a stitch, that's where we need to work the first stitch of round 2, so in that 2nd chain. Then when you get that stitch worked, place your marker there so you know this is the first stitch of the round. And make a half double crochet in the same place so you're increasing. Now for this round, you'll increase every stitch, so continue with 2 half double crochets in every stitch. Now you will hear me call it an increase throughout this tutorial. Just know that when I do, I'm talking about working 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. By the way, if you have questions about any of the supplies I'm using, you can always find those details on the pattern page. So having the pattern in front of you while you work is the best way to follow along with this tutorial, and you can view it for free on my website, or if you prefer to have a copy in hand to print or save for later, you can pick up the PDF from my shop. I'll have a link to both of those options in the description below, so you can do what works best for you. Okay, at the end of the 2nd round, you'll have a total of 16 stitches, double the amount we started with because we increased in every stitch. Now to start the next round, remove the marker and make a half double crochet there. Then don't forget to replace the marker so you know that's the first stitch of the round, and you'll increase in the next stitch. That is, work 2 half double crochets in one. After that, you'll work 1 half double crochet in the next stitch. So the repeat for this round is really simple. You're basically alternating 1 half double crochet with an increase. Now when you get to the end of the round, you should end on an increase in that last stitch, and you should count 24 stitches. So moving on to round 4, remove the marker and make a half double crochet there. Replace it and work a half double crochet in the next stitch too. Then follow up with an increase in the next. Something you'll notice here is you're making your increase in the same place as the increase from the previous round. That's always going to be the case as you add more rounds to this project. So keep going with that repeat. 1 half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, followed by an increase or 2 half double crochets in the next. So the rest of this pattern follows the same general repeat, and instead of walking you through every single round, which would be really long and kind of boring, I want to show you how easy it is to keep going. So one thing to have in mind is for the entire project here, you'll use half double crochet stitches, except the very, very end when we clean things up. So from now on, just know you're working with half double crochet stitches. You'll also continue to evenly space those increases each round, so it stays nice and flat while it continues to get bigger. Here's what I mean by that. So here's the first round we did with no increases. Then the next round, remember, we increased every stitch. Then the round after that, we made 1 stitch in between the increases. And on the next round, here are the increases. We have 2 stitches between them. Then the next row increases are here, and 3 stitches are between them. So as you continue to work each round, the only thing that changes from one round to the next is how many stitches you have between your increases. Remember, a visual cue for you is your increases will always happen in the same place, and you're always adding 1 more stitch between the increases as you go. And the last thing to keep in mind is your stitch count will increase by 8 stitches every round because we have 8 increases we're evenly spacing throughout the round. So using the pattern as your guide, keep going with your increases until you have 11 stitches between them. That's as big as we need to make it. At that point, your placemat will look something like this, and we're ready to finish things up. So there is a jog here from where we worked in a spiral, and here's where we're going to incorporate a couple different stitches to sort of graduate this down. So before we fasten off, we need to clean this up, and to do that, make a single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So that's a slightly shorter stitch than the half double crochet. And follow that up with a slip stitch in the next 2. Again, a slightly shorter stitch than the single crochet. That'll work it down enough so it kind of blends in, and from there you can trim the yarn and pull up on that loop instead of pulling it through. We're going to work an invisible join to make it a really clean finish. So to do that, thread the tail on your yarn needle and run the needle through the next stitch over from front to back. Then run it down through the middle of the last slip stitch and catch the stitch behind it and pull it tight. See, that matches the look of the rest of the stitches and it looks nice and tidy. And all that's left to do is weave in the ends, which honestly is a bit of a challenge with macrame cord, if I'm being honest. That's all for now, friend. I hope you have fun with this project and it inspires you to find more uses for macrame cord and your crochet hook. They're a great pair, even if it is a little bit of a workout. Now don't forget the links to where you can get the pattern are in the description below, so if you have any questions at all about the steps or the supplies, you'll most likely find the answer there. If you're new around here and you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love for you to consider being a part of this community and hitting that subscribe button. I make crochet and knitting videos like this all the time, and I'd love to keep inspiring you to make something that makes you happy. And if you've been around for a while, thanks so much for your continued support. Just by being subscribed, for liking the videos and sharing the tutorials here with your friends and leaving comments, You're keeping this community alive and thriving. And if you're taking it a step further and checking out the patterns on my website or buying the PDFs from my shop, I'm so incredibly grateful for you because there's no way I could keep doing what I'm doing without your support. Happy hooking, and I'll see you in the next one.